Today we're going to start with a segment on the history of the Hawaii Preparatory Academy Sea Turtle Research Program, talk a little bit about what we are and what we do. And so you might see this acronym STRP, which is Sea Turtle Research Program, which we use. And we want you to understand who we are and what we do so that when you have to talk with people out in the field to explain what our program is, you'll be able to do so. Let's look at our history and see where we've been and where we are currently. So HPA NOAA Sea Turtle Research Program, you should know that NOAA stands for the National Oceanic and Atmospheric Administration. And because we are working with an endangered species, we need to have a special permit in order to do so. And our permit is listed under NOAA as co-investigators on the Sea Turtle Research Program for the National Oceanic and Atmospheric Administration. So, back in 1987, we began our program under the sponsorship of Robbie Hines Sr., one of our local families who's been around for ages and ages, and he was kind enough to fund us to do some programs. David Gulko, who now works with the Department of Land and Natural Resources in the state of Hawaii, a rather famous coral biologist at that point, had the idea that we could work with NOAA as a high school unit and develop a program that allow our students to get out in the field and help to capture and tag sea turtles. At that time, they were still very, very scarce, not very many of them out in the field. So we began our cooperative program under the leadership of the National Marine Fisheries Service, a division of NOAA, and our mentor was George Balaz, a senior biologist at the National Marine Fisheries Service. He was Mr. Turtle for the state for many, many, many years. Since that time, he has retired in the last 3 or 4 years, and we are currently working with the Marine Turtle Biology and Assessment Program, Summer Martin, who is the acting director. And so it's sort of the same program, only we are under different scientific leadership in terms of who's in charge of the department and so on. The program now, of course, because it's 2020, has run for 33 years. So we've had a lot of experience doing what we do with the NOAA Marine Turtle Biology and Assessment Program. So let's see what we do on this island. Our current study sites range from Kauai Harbor, which you know is just down the road from us on the coastline, all the way down to Pu'uhonua, Ohonanau, the City of Refuge. We have these various sites at Pu'oko, Manalani, Waikoloa, Kiholo, Hualalai, Kaloko Honokahau National Historical Site, Kahulu Beach Park, and the City of Refuge. We have worked with these sites for many, many years, and although we don't visit them very regularly anymore, we have certain sites that we do visit, like Pu'oko, Manalani, the Kiholo area, Hualalai, and the National Historic Park at Kaloko Honokahau. So as a program working with high school students, the Hawaii Preparatory Academy, we have certain goals in mind that we would like to work towards as we go through this. Number one is to promote hands-on science education through your active participation in field research. I think the old adage is that no one learns as well as they do by doing something. And that's where we feel that if you get an experience out in the field, you have to do the work out there in the field. You learn it better and begin to appreciate what other scientists do when they are conducting field research. In addition, because of our blooming population and our tremendous impact on the biosphere and our environment, we would like you to go away from our program with a better understanding of our impact on the environment and enable you, in fact, convince you that it's important for you to participate in conservation issues affecting our environment. So we want to make you better environmentalists. Finally, and of course, as an important part of this, we want to make a significant contribution towards the conservation and well-being of sea turtle populations in the Pacific Basin, of course, because that's where we're located, and around the world. These are our primary goals. The ways we reach those goals is through promoting public education about sea turtles and the marine environment, and involving you as students, as participants in the Sea Turtle Research Program, in promoting that education through hosting displays. This happens to be a Waimea town display for sea turtle education. Here we have a fourth grade classroom of students coming down to visit us while we're doing a tagging project. One of our students explaining the biology and morphology, that is the structure of sea turtles. Here we have a group of students explaining the life cycle of sea turtles to a cultural event down at the Kalokahonokahau National Historical Site. And we also do some public outreach in form of signage. Not so much anymore, but we used to quite a bit when we were invited by people to say, can you put some signs out to let people know what turtles are and what they can and can't do around them. We also participate in Turtle Independence Day, carried on by the Monolani Bay Hotel. Every July 4th, they release a small group of captive reared turtles that were provided by Sea Life Park. We have students there who explain sea turtle biology and conservation. We show visitors there little baby turtles that are being raised at the hotel itself, and then participate sometimes in the actual release itself. In some cases, we have small turtles that people can see. This is a 1-year-old juvenile from Sea Life Park. Of most importance, perhaps, is our assistance with the capture and tagging program, capture and tagging green turtles on the coast of Hawaii. We assist NOAA and sometimes carry out our own programs of capture and tagging. Students help to capture turtles, to weigh and measure turtles, to do health assessments of turtles, and to safely release the turtles once we are done doing that. So this is a big part of our program, and one that many, many students love to participate in, get out into the field, help learn about sea turtles in the wild, capture, tag, and do health assessments. In addition, we have a couple of projects going on currently, although they have been sort of hampered by the COVID-19 pandemic. But anyhow, they're still in the works. That is climate change sex ratio assessment and skeletal chronology projects. We will continue to work with those as soon as we are able to gather in groups and work together, which we can't do right now. But what they basically are is the sex ratio assessment is looking at how many female and how many male turtles there are in the population of the Big Island right now. And the only way to do that is by taking blood samples of those turtles. Why do you care, you might ask? Well, it turns out that the sex of a turtle is determined by the temperature of incubation of the eggs of the turtle. And therefore, if we are experiencing climate change, i.e. global warming, we might expect warming temperatures for incubation, which means because turtles that have warm incubation temperatures become females, that we might have a lot of female turtles being produced and very few males. So this would show or produce a gender bias, and if you have all females and no males, then you have a difficult time reproducing, and we might have some problems in the future with the population of sea turtles as a result. In addition to that particular project, we're also doing skeletal chronology, which is a way of measuring the age of turtles, looking at bone growth rings, and this occurs when we find a dead stranded sea turtle. We can look at their bones and help to determine what age they are. So that's just another project that's going on right now. So in addition to that, and as part of that, interested students who participate in the program can carry out their own research projects. And of course, this fits in nicely with some of the capstone projects that need to be done by senior students. We had a couple last year that worked on the sex ratio project and gave a nice presentation on their work. We also have students who have just done work on their own and submitted projects to the International Sea Turtle Symposium, which meets in various places around the world each year. And this one happened to be in Philadelphia, Pennsylvania, where Katie Harrington did her work on the Kiholo Bay turtles. This was Orlando. She also went to Philadelphia. This one is Jill Quaintance, who did her presentation at the Miami, Florida Sea Turtle Symposium. This is a couple of ladies who graduated a few years back, and we traveled to Crete, Greece, to make this presentation. This was one where we went to New Orleans in 2014, another presentation by Brian Lee. Here we took a group of 3 students to Lima, Peru to make a presentation at International Sea Turtle Symposium there. This one is our most recent one, which was a Sea Turtle Symposium in Charleston, South Carolina, based on our work in Vanuatu satellite tagging projects. The reason I show you these is just because I want you to know that if you get particularly interested in doing sea turtle research, you can also produce papers, research papers that can be submitted to the symposium and travel to the symposium to present your papers. It's a real neat opportunity to travel and get to meet oftentimes over 1,000 different sea turtle biologists that present at these symposia. We also have done in the past international research projects. This was a group we took to Nagoya, Japan. We made about 6 or 7 trips to Nagoya, Japan, putting satellite tags on sea turtles, loggerhead turtles that we then released into the North Pacific Ocean area. And this is Miss Jim with some of her students and some of the high school students and one of our loggerhead turtles that had a satellite tag on it. Here I am with George Balaz and some of our research associates in Singapore. We're doing work there on hawksbill turtles, putting out satellite tags. We have also done work on Midway Atoll, which is one of the northernmost of the northwestern Hawaiian Islands, where there are turtles here, as you see, basking on the beach there. We did a lot of research there on tagging and capture work on about 3 different trips up to Midway Atoll in the past. Currently, our only major international research work is occurring on Vanuatu, that is the Republic of Vanuatu, and we have made 3 trips to the main island there, Efate, and one of its minor islands offshore there, where we are capturing and tagging nesting hawksbill turtles. We have now done 7 tags on these turtles, tracking their post-nesting migratory behavior and their behavior in their home forage grounds. This is the latest group of students that went, 1 senior and 2 8th grade students who went on this trip. It was a 10-day trip to Vanuatu where we captured 3 female nesting hawksbill turtles, and they successfully traveled back to their home grounds, which in one case was almost 2,200 kilometers from where they nested. In addition to all of our other work, the Sea Turtle Research Program at the Hawaii Preparatory Academy also operates the Sea Turtle Rescue Hotline. This hotline allows us to respond to calls from concerned public, private folks that observe sick, entangled, or injured, or dead sea turtles. And in most cases, these calls are responded to by either myself or by Miss Jim, my co-director in the program. And we cannot usually involve students in this, but occasionally, if it's on a non-class day, we will try to allow students to participate in this. What we do basically is, if it's an injured or entangled turtle, we will go to the site and see if we can't evaluate the situation and figure out what needs to be done. If it's entanglement, we may be able to remove the fishing line or whatever. If it's an injury, we can evaluate it based on our own experience and or conference with the NOAA folks in Honolulu, deciding whether or not it needs additional help. If it does, if additional assistance is needed, the turtle can be crated up and air freighted to Honolulu for veterinary evaluation and treatment. If, on the other hand, we have a dead turtle, we will take notes on the situation, the condition of the turtle, where it was found, how large it is approximately, whether it's tagged or not, that sort of thing. And then we will bag it, if you will, and place it in a freezer up at HPA, and we will keep the dead turtles until we have enough of them to warrant a shipment to Honolulu. In Honolulu, they will be picked up by the NOAA Marine Turtle Biology and Assessment Program, and then they will be necropsied. Necropsy is like what we call an autopsy for a human being. Necropsy is for a turtle. And in this case, we find all sorts of information about the turtle based on necropsy results. It can be anything from determining what caused the death of the turtle to parasites to histology to any number of things that we can learn from the dead body that we recovered, froze, and shipped over there. So it's a very, very valuable tool to help to manage the population of green turtles and hawksbill turtles in Hawaii. Now, to give you some examples of what we do, I'm going to take you to a couple of blogs that I write in terms of this. This was an in-water rescue that we did a few months back, and let's see if we can go there. I hope you can see this. This turtle was reported by a diver out in the water off Puako, and it was out there swimming around, but it had a monofilament line wrapped around its right front flipper. And as you can see in the picture here, the monofilament line is actually cutting through the flipper, and as you see, it's swollen, which means that the fishing line has cut off circulation to the distal part of the flipper. We were able to find it on a subsequent dive. Miss Jim was able to capture it. We brought it to the surface, and then the two of us were able to remove the fishing line and take pictures of the right and left side of the head for further identification later on, and then release it, having freed it from the fishing line. How it will do, whether that flipper will ever recover from the damage done, we don't know, but we know that it will probably not lose that flipper, or may not lose the flipper, based on the fact that we removed the fishing line. That was one example of what we have done. Another one is a line entangled turtle reported by guests at the Hilton Hotel Waikoloa, where there is a big lagoon. And here is another Sea Turtle Research and Conservation blog activity showing us recovering the turtle in the lagoon. There are lots and lots of people around. We were able to remove the fishing line, similar to the last turtle I showed you, where the line was cutting into the flipper of the animal. If it is left as it was there, it would eventually cause the flipper to become necrotic, that is, die and fall off. It would lose the flipper. As it was, we were able to remove the fishing line and release the turtle back into the water. Lots of very, very happy tourists seeing what's going on and the fact that we were doing something to help the turtle. So good PR for the turtles, for HPA, and for the Hilton Hotel. Going back now, we have one recent report just yesterday. This is the email that came in. It says, we have been seeing this honu at Kahalu Beach Park recently with white on its right front flipper. Someone said it looked like it wasn't using that flipper, but I didn't notice that. This is the only photo I have. It's not great. Any ideas as to why this might happen? Is it something that should be reported? Well, here's what the picture showed us. And you can't see much except that there's this white material around the trailing edge of the flipper, which means basically that the scales on the trailing edge of the flipper have begun to fall off. The flipper itself is becoming necrotic, that is rotten, if you will. It's dying, and most likely this animal has fishing line around its right front flipper. What we will try to do once we have the time is to go out and find that animal and probably have to cage it, put it in a carrier, and ship it to Honolulu, where the veterinarian will most likely have to amputate the flipper. So anyhow, here are a couple of examples of what we do in the Sea Turtle Rescue Hotline. Some of you may get to be involved in it, but most of the times it is during class day, and we can't get students out for that. So this is about the end of it right now. I gave you an idea of who we are, what we do, where we've come from, and what we're doing now. I just want you to understand that right now, because of the pandemic, we are pretty much shut down in terms of field work. We do some work in terms of rescue and recovery of sea turtles, but this is only on an individual basis where we don't have to have groups of people acting together. If and when we get a cure or a vaccine for the particular disease called COVID-19, and we can get back together as groups, then we will certainly begin doing our projects once more. And I'll get you folks out into the field. The idea here is that if you do these video presentations and learn the material presented in them, get a passing grade on the test, and become qualified, then you will be able to participate in field research once it gets going again. I can give you no guarantees about when that will be, but if you're ready, then when we wind them up and get going again, you'll be there on the list. So, thank you for watching. If you have any questions, don't hesitate to email me at mrice@hpa.edu. Happy to answer them. Take care.